This is a special moment right now we're having. This is a sacred time moment. We're witnessing the passing of a generation right now. And we've come together as a family to share our grief and our love, and to honor this life that has passed, that has held us in so many different ways. We invited the rabbi to say a few words, and then we'll move on to the sharing.
Good evening, Rabbi.
Well, thank you, Mr. Botkin. My name is Charlie Rudansky, the rabbi for the Metropolitan Jewish Hospice, the home program that Mrs. Botkin, Rosalind, was on, and the marriage and the years of love that you and Rosalind experienced was very touching. And I had an opportunity to meet Mrs. Botkin. We had nice conversations and quite remarkable, very alert, very engaging, very loving. So I thank you for giving me the honor to just offer a few short words. And it's quite remarkable this evening coming together to pay tribute and honor of Rosalind. In the Jewish calendar, it's a very special evening. The Jewish calendar goes according to the moon, and tonight is a new moon. It's a new month. It's a new month in the Jewish calendar, and we say that those that pass away, or when you have a memorial or a burial or remembrance on these holy days, it's considered very significant, and it recognizes the person's righteousness. And Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of a month in Jewish tradition, honors the women in the community. We're supposed to be honoring our wives, our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, our siblings, our sisters on these holy days. So to come together to honor Rosalind's life on a new month and a new beginning is quite meaningful. And I just want to say to the family, of course, Mr. Botkin and Mitchell and Roberts and all of you, what a remarkable lady. Truly an Ashes Chayil, a woman of valor and beauty and wisdom and knowledge, was so instrumental in her son's life, in her community's life, all the students that Rosalind touched in over 30 years of being an educator, a reading specialist. She was very special in so many different and significant ways. And her last words was family. Her last words was love. Her last words was carrying on her legacy. I would like to offer the Kaddish. Kaddish means to sanctify. We want to sanctify this moment together, well-deserved. Rosalind led a life of sanctity and holiness. Kaddish. Yisgadal, Yiskadash, Shmei Rabbah, Ba'alma, Divra, Kurusei, V'yamlech, Achosei, V'chayechon, V'meyachon, V'chayei, to call Beit Yisrael, Ba'agla, Uzman, Kariv, V'imru, Amen.
Amen.
Yehei, Shmei, Rabba, Mavarach, L'olam, L'omei, Almayah, Yisparach, V'yishtabach, V'yispa'ah, V'yishamam, Yisnaseh, Vishada, Vishalal, Vishalal, Shmei, Kedusha, Ruchu, Le'ilah, Min, Kol, Ruchasa, Vishurasa, Tishbachasa, V'nechamasa, Da'amiran, Ba'alma, V'emru, Amen. Yehi, Shlama, Rabba, Min, Shemaya, B'chayim, Aleinu, Ba'kol, Yisrael, V'emru, Amen. The last stanza. Osa, Shalom, Bimamav, Hu, Yaseh, Shalom, Aleinu, Ba'kol, Yisrael, V'emru, Amen. God's great name be blessed forever and ever. May there be abundant tranquility from the heavens upon all of us, upon all of the people of Israel, all of the people in the Middle East, those in conflict situations. May there be abundant tranquility in our own tents, our own homes, our own places, our own hearts, now and forevermore. Let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Just conclude with a statement of consolation. Hamakom Yenachem Eschem B'Tok Sha'avol Etzim Yerushalayim. May the omnipresent console you among the other mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. May this beautiful family continue to strengthen each other. May the spirit and the soul and the righteousness of Rosalind continue to inspire the grandchildren and all those children that Rosalind touched in her lifetime. May we come together for joyous occasions. Let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.
At this point, I would like people to look back on the one sweet memory that they have of this wonderful woman and this wonderful family.
Trying to sum this stuff up in a few pages about such a small but huge human being is not normal, but the ritual is good, and we're pretty tight-knit, and we really appreciate everybody's articulation and support. I wrote about somebody that used to look like this to this. So I try to compose myself. I once in a while sit back and say, how did she do this? How the heck did she do this? Where was the time of the day? One beat comes to mind where I was up in Oneonta College, 3.5 hours away, 19 years old, and I embedded myself in a little bit in theater. And she drove all alone through the hills, through the mountains, back through the city, through LIE, and how the heck did you do that all by yourself? A 45-year-old woman on the road by herself. Today it seems commonplace. Laura, that's what you did, last week, the week before, etc. But it always amazes me, these little things that were really huge. Knowing, in that case, I got somebody in the audience who was really curious and really supportive, more so than any other person in that audience. Listening to Joe and Mom and their similarities of ethnic backgrounds and professional objectives and careers, it also astounds me. Children of immigrants, etc. When we sit back, we have to remember we're just second-generation Americans. So I might as well just read off what I put together. Like many Jewish diaspora families of the early 20th century, Mom was raised in very humble beginnings, with a rabbinical grandfather and two parents who were very much in love. having arrived from Russia, grateful to be on democratic soil and far from the pogroms. These two lovely people were her mom and dad. This is part of her humble beginnings. I think that's mom on her mother's shoulder. And one might say that Brooklyn raised my mother and her sister, a safe distance from the chaos of the big city, as Brighton and Sheepshead Bay area offered a quieter, more community-oriented stability where kids of foreign-born Jews could get educated, learn to socialize, play, go to the boardwalk and beaches, grow and find their goals and ambitions. For Mom and Bev, it was obvious early in their lives that they were destined for teaching, and they weren't afraid of any challenge or neighborhood for that matter. Growing up, Mom never wavered from this objective. Frankly, when my dad abandoned her and her two sons, she was very hurt, of course, but she poured all of her remaining energy after taking care of and feeding us to achieve her master's in education. Growing up, we knew Mom to be the calm, stabilizing force in the family, just simply making life with a husband who inevitably arrived home after the kids were asleep as normal as possible. She worked, did food shopping, took us clothes shopping, cooked, fed us, bandaged wounds and sprained ankles, took us to doctors and dentists, sat at the kitchen table and listened to our daily stories of school and social lives. When Grandma and Grandpa were over, the house, as I recall, was a place of quiet solemnity with Yiddish as the primary language, which of course made it a lot easier for me to run to the front door and yell, "See you later, I'm going out to play ball with everyone." Their presence, though, was our introduction to a kind of required and acquired respect for our elders, both with regard to them in particular and in life in general. Their experiences as Russian Jews were hardly ever spoken of, but we knew there were horrific abuses and prejudices. As kids, we somehow knew, at least I did, that our father was increasingly, shall we say, intimidated by his role as husband and father, the involvement required, the showing up, the positive reinforcement, the guidance. We, frankly, witnessed a deterioration that maybe Mom wouldn't quite admit. While still seeming to be in love, giving special gifts like jewelry, he slipped away and disappeared. I was 18 and became a de facto support, knocking on her bedroom door in the middle of the night when I heard sobbing. We spoke about this a few weeks ago, that being prone and somewhat helpless reminded her of those moments a long time ago. I was there for her, had to be, as she was there for her sons all that time. Very often, her eldest son, not yet even 20, would ask, "How you feeling? How you holding up?" Okay, and never dwell on what never could be changed. Her spirits resumed. She immersed herself in getting her master's, taking care of her high school son, and eventually started dating. She was finding and regaining her dignity. I believe she was finding new strength in deciding what gentleman she wanted to share her time and life with. I visited from Stony Brook frequently. I took a semester off after 2 years there and recall frequently telling her, like a doting parent, "Don't be late." Mom embraced the gentle love and dignity of her foreign-born parents and how they coped in a new world. She felt deeply connected to her nearby relatives, Phyllis in particular. Similarly, Sister Beverly was hugely important to her for their entire lives, deeply connected as friends. We'd spend many weekends together, even on Long Island or trips to New Jersey. So after turning down many suitors, she eventually met a man with high integrity, Leon, and they fell deeply in love. It was Leon's strength, convictions, life experiences, and religious faith that attracted her. so strongly that Mom also became somewhat conservative. Conveniently enough, they took to what seemed to be romantic strolls to the local synagogue, which is a thing about Mom's life in general. She needed to give and to receive love. That's what mattered most, in a quiet, dignified, non-confrontational way that she wished would be more common in the world. When Leon got ill with cancer, it was also devastating. But Mom seemingly knew instinctively how to cope, take care of his needs, and allow him to go peacefully in his new home in Williston Park. At his funeral in the limousine, it was the first and only time she uttered the words, "Why me?" And it even shocked her when they came from her lips, almost making us both laugh. Once again, she gathered the strength to get out, take care of her emotions in a positive way, even vent. She went to a bereavement group. Enter Joseph Botkin. Wow. I almost should stop there with that one word.
Yep.
What can I say about almost 40 years of bliss? I labeled them as lovebirds, inseparable. Smiles came to both of their faces when they confronted each other. They were both nearing retirement, both able to pursue travel, remain active, admire the growth of their offspring and their children and their children's children. They had so much in common. Recently, they laughed at how they thought the bereavement group was really silly and served only the purpose for people to vent their frustrations. But really, that didn't matter. They found each other, and that was all that mattered. What a life. From the relaxing confines of a simple ranch house in Williston Park, which Joe diligently looked after and produced beautiful gardens, to the responsibilities of co-op life in Great Neck. They both found ways to actively participate while looking after each other and embracing each other's extended family as well. All I can say to Joe is thank you for making my mother incredibly happy. As a woman, as a wife, as a mother to us all. The love, the dedication, the adoration you have for each other was and is still astounding to us all. And that just scratches the surface. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Uncle Mitch.
And thanks, Mitch. I barely know where to start with someone I thought of as my best friend for years until I met my wife, Oksana. Words like strong, understanding, thoughtful, supportive, good listener come to mind when I think of Mom. My mom was always easy to talk to. And one thing I can say about Mom is she was always strong, caring, and empathetic when discussing any stressful experiences. My mom and I developed a special bond after my dad moved out of the house when I was 15. And my mom became my rock of support through my teen years and many years thereafter. Mom always provided vital moral support during my tough times growing up. She became that special kind of friend that could always be relied on to lend a supportive, empathetic ear. When my mom met Joe after many years of heartache, I witnessed the happiness and camaraderie that the two of them developed, and the endearing bond that soon after flourished for the better part of 34 years, which was truly a blessing to behold and a treat to be in their presence. My mom and Joe took many trips together, and they had so many things in common, from the arts to traveling, to reading, to culture and music. For years, I considered my mom as a confidant where I could always bounce off ideas without being judged, whether it be with relationships, work, or world events. It was a relationship that I cherished dearly. Mom was always positive and taught me about perseverance and the importance of being patient, optimistic, but also realistic about the tough challenges in life. I will forever carry her memory of love and compassion with me as it has shaped me in more ways than I can say.
Thank you, Al.
Hi, I'm Oksana, Roz's daughter-in-law. Roz, she has been my mother-in-law for over 22 years now. I had to leave my birth family behind when I came to this country, and she made sure this became my warm and loving family here. Roz welcomed me and embraced my family. As a matter of fact, Roz and Joe made sure they met my mom when I still couldn't go back and see her, which was really hard. They have traveled to St. Petersburg, Russia to meet her, and they always asked, Roz always asked how my family was, how my mom was doing. Roz was kind and caring, always helpful and always gracious. She was a strong and a very positive person. She was generous and supportive. She always was a loving, understanding mother. I will never forget how Roz and Joe helped us after that bad car accident and selfishly took care of all of us with love. We will always love Roz, and we already miss her. And she left us with fond memories, and I'm grateful to have known her, and I'm honored to be her daughter-in-law.
Thank you, Oksana.
I'm gonna make my speech.
Yeah.
So Grandma Roz, she was she was a big part of my childhood growing up. After the car accident, we spent quite some time living with both Grandpa Joe and Grandma Roz, and they've always been so kind to me and involved me in what they were doing, and tried to, even if they didn't fully understand what I was getting myself involved in, they were curious. But she was, when I was a kid, she was always getting me involved in her cooking. As she would say, she would ask you to be her taster and try out her lentil soup, or her leek soup, or her split pea soup, or anything else she was cooking. There's so many recipes I can list off that I wish I could try again from her hands, but I can't anymore. But I'll cherish those memories for a while. And as I got older, she would invite me as an assistant in her in preparing her recipes. So one thing we used to do a lot of the time was to prepare a batch of about 20 or 25 of her oatmeal cookies. I think ever since they moved over to Great Neck, we've been doing that quite often. Since my other side of the family is only speaks Russian and is in Russia, she's been basically my closest, and Grandpa as well. They've been my closest, like ancestors basically, who've been I guess, a sort of guide in my life. And I've always stressed the importance of education and getting involved in whether it be politics or the community or music or whatever kind of tips, whatever kind of information they thought I might find useful that they learn in their lives. They shared with me. I was kind of wondering what exactly I could say to be like my one, I guess, moment. You know, when I was going to bed last night, I was just thinking, of all the times that we would arrive from the airport or they would arrive from the airport, and I would give grandma a hug and hold her small body like this.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna miss that, and I'm very grateful for all the close moments that we've had and all the Zoom calls on Fridays and conversations and activities we've had alongside each other. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we love you, Grandma Rose.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'm Ronnie. I live in Florida. I'm going to miss talking to Rozzy. I kept up the habit of calling Rozzy about once a week. It began after my mom, Phyllis, died about 4 years ago. They used to talk weekly. As the actual caregiver and sole decision maker, the stress and being alone in Delray was intense for me. Yet somehow Mom always knew what to say to talk me off the ledge. Yes, I managed to get through that period of time, and her calm demeanor made a difference. Rozzy and I would call each other to catch up on how everyone was doing, what they were doing and going through family history. She told me stories of summer vacations in Jersey and Brighton Beach. Without your mom's stories, I would never have known that my mom's favorite flavor was Tutti Frutti ice cream. My moms were very close, and Rozzy was the maid of honor at my mom's wedding. I have the wedding album with wonderful family photos in it. Mom and I shared information on who traveled together from Belarus, Ukraine, Minsk, Pinsk, or Antipoli. We were never really sure of the towns. I'd tell her what information I had. She'd share what she was told. I have Nanny, that was my grandmother's actual passport. So I do know our family's true name. Mom shared, or I hope she shared, historic information with Daniel. Rozzy was able to fill in some of the blanks about our families, who lived with whom, where the families lived, who had a job, who didn't. Uncle Sam Fox's scholarship to Pratt. She told me about the little gold ring they brought back from your grandparents' trip to Russia. I gave that ring to your mom. One year I sent Mom a birthday check, and I told her, buy something fun. Mom, being Mom, regifted my check to PBS to keep the station alive during budget cuts. Who else would do something so good, so kind, so generous? We compared ongoing political activities. I would go out and protest. Mom wrote postcards. She encouraged people to go out and vote. She didn't care what cities or states she wrote to, but she knew it was important to do the work. And she did the best she could at that point in her life. She did her gardening work. Joe would garden and she would cook. I knew about all of her veggies and what was in her freezer and when she was making leek soup for Joe that night. We were lucky enough to meet at the Marseille restaurant in New York City and share a meal with Mitch joining us. Rob and Oksana made it to Raleigh one afternoon for an Italian lunch. Lunch meant Mom biting a tiny corner of one slice of pizza. That's it. She was done. She was always kind, gracious, and incapable of saying a bad word about anyone. She was always affectionate to Joe. I could hear that over the phone, and how she loved her kids. I'll miss talking to Rosie. I'm the only one that called her Rosie, and she was a good friend to me, as well as a second cousin. I really don't know if Bevy, her sister, Roz, and Phyllis, my mom, are eating somewhere ice cream, but I hope they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you.
My mom died when I was in my late 20s. So we never had the chance to get to know each other really as adults. And then Roz came along, and I can admit to being a little guarded at the beginning. I might have felt like I was too old to get a new mom, but we became close. And I especially loved how she embraced being grandma so enthusiastically to my Alana and my Eva. And you couldn't mistake how she felt about my dad. And you got to love that. They were so clearly right for each other, so comfortable and at home together. A really perfect match.
Hmm.
In the last months and weeks, our relationship deepened, and there was a new level of honesty, vulnerability, and strength. And it was an honor and a privilege to be with her during that time. One of the last things I said to her was, you are a role model. And one of the last things she said to me was, you read me. And that was an incredible gift. What a gift. So I'm very grateful to have had Roz in my life and in my family. And I will miss her. I miss her already.
So like Laura, I was very guarded when our dad, Joe, after a year of grieving his first wife, met this new woman and was quickly involved and soon thereafter married. And for a bohemian, I was pretty judgmental. And I thought, But over time, it didn't take too long, several years, I would say, Roz was very persistent in winning us over. And I think two things that I recall, because there were discrepancies. You know, Roz wasn't the backpacker or wasn't maybe so inclined to mosquitoes. But in my mind, I learned and became convinced that they were right together when I realized how much of a teacher Roz was, and also how much of a foodie. And we had lovely connections on both of those realms. The food, of course, Roz was a huge fan of the food that we grew and brought and shared. And I don't think gardening was part of her past, and yet she embraced it with verve and gusto and great appreciation. And the sharing my love of teaching and her history of being a teacher, special ed and reading and leading groups, all of those things are so near and dear to our hearts. And I, even on this last week when I spoke to Roz for the last time, she was talking about remembering all of her students. And I know, actually, I was talking about remembering my students because one of mine had come back to visit. And she started in about talking about her students and how she remembered each and every one, and the adventures and the struggles that came with being a special needs educator. And those were two areas that that really endeared me to her. And of course, the multiple extra time that we got with the both of them, the visits, 3 or 4 times a year down to Great Neck, and the whirlwind tending of the garden. That just every visit felt like a extra time, special bonus time, and to get to know Roz and to deepen our love and our connection with Dad. So I can only appreciate such a life well lived. Oh, Elena interviewed Roz about her childhood, and she was talking about her loving family and how it was not the norm back then. And that was such a powerful icon of her upbringing, and how she was convinced and convicted to carry that forward throughout her life. And so she did. So, like everyone said, we're really, really appreciative and honored by the huge and wonderful life that Roz had, and so appreciative that she shared it with Joe, our dad. What a great couple, and what a testament to reinventing themselves in midlife and doing it better every day. So, amen to that. We should all live a shadow of that.
Thank you, Dan. Well, I will echo what my brother and sister have said in terms of being adopted by Roz as a family. I told her not too long ago that even though I didn't choose to call her mom, she became my mom. And I noticed that in my communications over these last 2 weeks, particularly with my siblings and Mitch and Rob, that I stopped saying your mom and my dad, and I started saying mom and dad. And I know that's what Roz wanted in her heart. It was for us to be family together. So I feel really happy about that, and appreciated her guidance on that front.
Thank you.
I feel very, very lucky to know Roz and Joe. What a blessing in my life. And Roz was just this little bundle of intellect and strength and kindness and thoughtfulness. She was a joy to be around. And one of the things that I loved was that every time we were together, she always found a time to be one-on-one and have a conversation with me. And I don't mean a superficial conversation. It was always an in-depth one. And she would ask questions and want to know, and was perceptive and a guide, which I really appreciated. But the one story, Joe, that I do want to share was that about 1.5 years ago, I lost my wedding ring. And I searched and searched and searched for well over 6 months, never found it. And one time when we were visiting, Roz came out and said, I want to give you something. I want you to have this. And I don't know if it can show, oops, but she gave me this ring which is the same as the gold ring that she wore. But Leon was a jewelry maker, and he would try out new patterns in silver. And if Roz liked it, he would make it for her in gold. And she wore the gold one, but gave me the silver one, which was such an incredibly generous, kind, thoughtful thing to do. And I treasure it as I treasure her.
Thank you, John.
I guess I just have to say that I was glad to know her and really appreciated everything that everybody has said. How she listened and all her giving and all her gifts. And I'm grateful also to be part of the family as she was. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about 3 different eras of time. And one is when Alana and I were really little, and Grandpa and Grandma Roz took us to a play. We went for the weekend, and we went to a play, and we went out to dinner, and we felt so special. And like we were on this great adventure with our exciting grandparents. And it's such a good memory, and it's such a good note of what it was like as a little kid, as a younger kid, to have you, Grandpa and Grandma Roz, as our grandparents. And then there was another era, and the memory is baby Micah and baby Eva getting left as small babies on the doorstep of the grandparents' house without any adults. And it's, hearing them laugh and giggle in that moment was such a good illustration of the fun and the joy that this whole family has, and that the grandparents could laugh in that moment is really cool. And then I think more recently as an adult, visiting Grandpa and Grandma in New York, and the respect that they both have for this family and their grandkids, and asking good questions and being so present and being such wonderful role models. Laura said that, but Grandma Roz, and Grandpa Joe are such role models. And I'm so grateful for the time that we've had together. And I'm so grateful for this family. So thank you.
Thank you, Elena.
Adding on just a couple pieces here on common threads. Grandma Roz and Grandpa Joe were the only grandparents I knew, unfortunately. But fortunately, as Laylee said, they were pretty cool. So I was thinking about, I don't know if everyone knows this, but Eva and I got to go on these grandchildren trips. I think it was twice. I think we went to Philly once, 3 times. That was pretty unique to go on these like trips with grandparents. That was something I think a lot of people don't get to do. And so those were pretty special memories. The kitchen was a special place for Roz and for this family. And I remember being little, just being so excited when she would ask me to help, and it could just be like setting plates up or ringing the dinner bell to call people to meals. And I think that was one of the things that she brought to this family, and was a really special kind of way to bring her excitement and love. That was really special.
Thank you, Micah.
The other day, Lyle asked me, he posed this question of what have we learned from our grandparents? We talk a lot about what we've learned from our parents, but what have we learned from our grandparents? And I think, as we've all heard today, grandma's love was a really strong through line. A lot of us have talked about how she is so thoughtful, and she's given us such dedicated attention when she's talking to you. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned from her, is that being a good communicator is also being a good listener, and that listening deeply and asking interesting deep questions is how to show love. And I think we've all felt so deeply loved by her through conversation, through food as well, but through conversation. And Ellie mentioned that when Micah and I were left on the stoop as babies, and everyone hid in the bushes. And I have, I don't remember that story. I've heard it told very many times. Just the love and glee that both Grandpa and Grandma had in finding us there, that they were going to get to spend that time with us. And then we have these wonderful memories of the trips with them, where it was just us with them, and how special that was. And thank you, Micah, for bringing that up. On those visits, I distinctly remember times when Micah was deep in a chess game with Grandpa. And so I would get time with Grandma, usually in the kitchen baking, where it was just the two of us. And those are the moments that I really learned from her about how to communicate, how to work on a project together, and how to really be present with another person. And I think that's the thing that I always will think about with her, is her presence. She's also, as many people have said, very giving, and in so many deep ways, but also in other ways. Joan mentioned the ring. I have several blazers from Grandma that I wear regularly to work. And every time I get a nice compliment from a coworker, and I'm so excited to say, thanks, it was my grandma's. And it's just so special to have her with me regularly in that way. And I'm so grateful. Grandma, I love you. And everyone here, I love that we all are embodiments of her.
Thanks, Eva.
But Grandpa and Grandma always made it a point to make each and every one of us feel special and supported. And, when Ellie was talking about the childhood memories, I have similar memories of going to New York and going to the zoo or the art museums, and just like the grandparents would always take us on the best adventures. The biggest thing for me was just always feeling so supported. And I would call them and tell them my accomplishments. And Grandma was just always like telling me that she was proud, and Grandpa. And it just like you could hear the excitement and authenticity in her voice. And on my birthday, you guys always call. And there was like one year way back where I sent it to voicemail, or I couldn't pick up. And there's like this incredible voicemail of them both singing happy birthday to me in unison. And it would be like, and a one, and a two. And so it got to the point where I was like, I know they were going to call, and I would send it to voicemail, get my recording, and then like call back. And I still have like multiple voicemails.
Awesome.
I'm going to have to dig them up.
Yes, please.
Because they're incredible and so sweet. And, our family can keep a tune too. So anyway, I just, we love Grandma, and Grandpa, I love you very much. And I'm very grateful, like was said, I'm very grateful to be a part of this family and to have the coolest grandparents ever. And we love her very much.
Thank you, Laylee.
Because her love has come through so strongly, and there's so many patterns here in how deeply she loved all of us.
I got to know Roz in small bits of time over many years, mainly, which was a gift to me to be able to come to Hanukkah celebrations, which was something new for me. But what struck me was always her kindness, which is the theme here. And she would always ask about how we were doing, if our girls were there, if they weren't there, how they were doing, how my parents were doing, which was amazing to me to feel so welcomed. And on the food, I would just say that I never tried rhubarb, but that was unbelievable. I was a little unsure about how to go about it, but it was spectacular. So,
Rhubarb chicken, rhubarb cake, rhubarb sauce, all delicious. Yeah, I think everybody has, really said everything so beautifully. And one of the common things is her listening and her questioning. And I think that's really a trait of this entire family, of that true presence and really wanting to understand each other, and asking those questions. And she definitely embodied that, as does the whole family. And, just thinking of, I knew Roz for more than half of my life, knew Rhoda very shortly. And I think, that's something too, of thinking of Joe and these two great loves that he had, and these two amazing women who led and were a part of this family, and how different they were in a lot of ways. And when you see the adventures, the activities, the museums, the dining, the different kinds of activities, but how both, from my memories of Rhoda and from what she's from the family, just this true love, of culture, of belief, of respect, of family, and just different shared experiences. And then just talking about Elena brought up our trip to the city, and that will always, always stand out to me as one of the first times of really being in New York City and just feeling completely in awe of it. And just, with Joe and Roz so comfortable in New York and just being overwhelmed and staring at everything, and dining in the city and seeing Cats. That was the first Broadway show. And it was just part of, and then having great meals. And I'm sure there was rhubarb chicken when we were back in Long Island, and just so many wonderful memories and times together.
Thank you.
I want everyone to know how special she was and how symbolic this picture was of our road together. I just wish that there was some way of preserving this moment in time.
Well, I suggest that we take a deep breath here to just kind of take in what we have just done together.
I hope that I have conveyed my deepest love for the one in my life, and I hope that this recording will remain as a special memory of hers.
And you have fulfilled your commitment that you made to her, that you would help to make this happen.
I could never have lived without fulfilling that commitment. It was mutual.
So, if the rabbi was here, they would say some kind of benedictory comment, like blessings on your kepelas, and go in peace.
I'll leben on thy cup.
Oh, is that a blessing on your head?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you, family.
Oh, kisses and hugs all around. We shall meet again.
Amen.